What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Buffalo Blueprint. I'm your host, Jake FB Data. I really appreciate you guys joining me tonight. I got another fun show for everybody. We'll be going over the first week of free agency. We'll talk about some of the news that came out the last few days, maybe a little bit of drama as well. And then we will set our sights on what's next and set the landscape for the next few weeks. So, thanks so much for joining me tonight, and we will get the show started.
Come on, man. Only on Do Champion Network.
Everything you need, nothing you don't. Some may like it, few just won't. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Some may like it, few just won't. Buffalo Blueprint for analytics and new shit. Check pen in hand, mic in his hand. Welcome to the Buffalo Blueprint. Everything you need. Everything you need. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Some may like it, few just won't. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Some may like it, few just won't. Buffalo Blueprint for analytics and new shit. Jake pen in hand, mic in his hand. Welcome to the Buffalo Blueprint. Everything you need. Everything you need.
All right. First off, I'd like to thank our show sponsor, Mackenzie Farms and Happy Holiday Tree Farms, for supporting this show all season long. It's sponsors like them that make this show possible. They allow us to buy data, streaming platforms, attend the Combine, Senior Bowl, and travel to games as well. So thank you so much to Mackenzie Farms and Happy Holiday Tree Farms. And then a quick word from our network sponsors, and then we will get started.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliott Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
All right, and now I'll welcome my guest for tonight. It's Don. Don is our social media manager at Do Champions. Don, thanks so much for joining me. How's it going, man?
Yes, sir. It's going. It's been a weekend. Birthday was on Friday. Hit
The big 3-0, man.
The
The
big
big
3-0,
3-0.
man. My 20s are dead.
Yep.
Woke up with some back pain.
It already
No, I didn't.
started.
I didn't have that
Oh,
happen,
man.
but I was at the gym and was like, oh, man, that hurt a little bit.
Yeah, it's happening. Dude, you're going to watch, man. You're going to start having injuries from stretching. Like,
Well,
I'm telling you, man, it's coming.
I don't have kids yet. I don't even know if that's in the question or in the realm of possibilities right now.
That definitely
sure if
ages
we're
you
having
more,
that,
for
so
sure.
I've heard that it adds for every year that kid gets older, it adds 3 to your age. So,
I believe
um,
that. I believe that.
but no, it was a good weekend. Dinner last night, and then shout out to my fiance Sammy, who did a little surprise birthday party with some friends, and that was a great time last night. And
Awesome.
then went golfing yesterday as well. So it's been shot possibly a personal best. I don't know. Shot an 81 with one mulligan per size, whatever. So maybe it was an 83 or an 84, but either way, I was.
Who's
I don't
counting,
remember.
though? Who's counting?
Yeah, I don't remember shooting an 85 in my life, but here we are.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of Bills news the past week that we got to get through. Some good, some bad, unfortunate stuff that happened, and some drama.
Yeah.
They
Why
didn't
don't?
get
Yeah. I'll go over the calendar first. I like to do that with what's next on the NFL calendar. Obviously, we're in the middle of free agency still, but it'll start cooling off here, and there'll be a lot more visits and random signings than anything. A lot now is just going to be pro days for the different schools, and a lot of news on who attended what pro days. But the next major NFL thing is March 30th to April 2nd, and that's the annual league meetings in Palm Beach, Florida. Donnie, do you happen to know where those league meetings are held usually?
I have no idea.
A place you've played the golf course quite a few times. The Breakers. They hosted at the Breakers, yeah.
Really? Huh,
Yep.
okay. Yeah.
Really,
We've been
really
there before.
beautiful hotel, yeah. And
Yeah.
we played that golf course quite a lot. But a lot of stuff comes out of those meetings, though. There's talks that they're going to move the kickoff from the 30 to the 35 for the
On
touchback,
touchbacks, yeah.
and I'm sure there'll be some other stuff they want to talk about news wise and rules wise. So we'll see what comes out of those meetings. But those are March 30th through April 2nd. You'll also sometimes get some trade rumors in there and things like that because you have all the coaches and GMs and owners are all at those meetings. So that's March 30th through April 2nd. Then after that, in April, we start all the we actually start off-season workout plans, and we start winding back up for the new league year, man. It's crazy. So April 7th, excuse me, teams with new head coaches can start their off-season program. So that's April 7th. So for all the teams with new head coaches, they can start their off-season workout plan. That's there's no football activities in that. That's just getting in the gym, workouts, things like that. They can do some like calisthenics and stuff on the field, but there's no coaching going on. April 16th is the deadline to time, test, and host draftees at club facilities. So that's when the hosting of visitors will stop. So between now and April 16th, actually really from April 2nd, when they're done with the league meetings until April 16th, you'll see a lot of news on who's coming to visit, what teams and things like that. And remember, a lot of that is like they want extra medical checks. So they want to get guys in their facility and they want to get their doctors on them. And it's not always necessarily who the team's going to draft, but that there's going to be a lot of that news coming out April 2nd through April 16th. The next date after that is April 18th, the deadline for restricted free agents to sign their offer sheet. So that's the next major date in April. So that puts us out, 3 more weeks. So the league year starts, man, and the dates start rolling. So definitely starting to get into the draft stuff now, and that's where we'll go after this week's episode is we'll start diving headfirst in the draft. But first up, we got to talk news over the last week. And obviously, we got to start out with the banger that dropped today. So Stephon Diggs, I don't know if you saw, but he of course has to. He of course has to get himself in the media. I don't know, in Instagram, I guess he unarchived or whatever, however the cool kids say it now. I'm not hip enough to know the lingo, but basically he put all his pictures back on that included Bills related pictures and him in Bills uniform, and then he followed the Bills as well. So what do you think about the development of Diggs coming back on social media? And then obviously that then sparked everybody saying, oh, does that mean that he could come back to the Bills? Is he entertaining the thought? So what are some of your thoughts on the Diggs stuff already?
I think it's a little weird. I don't know how else to really describe it. Does it make sense for the Bills to bring him back? Sure, if it's a contract that's friendly towards the cap, it's probably gonna be a 1-year deal kind of situation. I don't know we don't really know the full story on if there was really like real beef between him and Josh or really what happened. I don't know if anyone does besides, the people involved in the organization or close to them. I think if, there's no drama with bringing him back, I'm happy to bring him in. Coming off a torn ACL is pretty drastic. He's not going to be the same player he once was, especially on the wrong side of 30. So I'm okay with it. I don't know. He's not the same difference maker he was even 3 years ago.
Right.
So 2 years
I
ago,
think
you
it's
kind of
just
saw
there's a lot
small
of
things.
layers to it, right? Like there's so many layers. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's an
there's
onion,
30 million reasons why the Bills wouldn't bring him back. They just literally
right?
spent $30 million for him to
They
not
just
be
got
on
rid
the
of it. They
team.
just got him off the books.
Right. So I mean that is like like just monster right
Yeah,
there. And then I think it would be hilarious though if they're able to bring him back before they even spend the second round pick that they got from Houston
that would be
for
funny.
him. I think that would be pretty funny. But yeah, there's a lot of layers to it. I mean, who knows what happened with Diggs in the year off with the ACL injury and maybe not a place to land, and his options could be super limited. I mean, you tear your ACL in November. There's not a lot of clubs that want to bring you on. They don't know you very well, and so who knows? I mean, we saw OBJ do something. He tore his in the Super Bowl, right? But
Hmm.
he missed the whole next year. So not saying that that's what's going to happen to Diggs, but he's on the wrong side of 30, tearing your ACL late in the year. Like it'd be really surprising if he's back by September. And a lot of times it takes a year from when the injury happens for someone to come back. So if we're just talking purely football, if it's like a prove it super low deal, but I don't even know why the Bills would sign him yet. Like there's just no incentive for the Bills to even sign
Right,
him
like
now when you don't even know if he's going to play. And so that's one side of it. The other side of it is why, from just a drama, questions during the off season, like there's just no reason to even sign up for that. So I'm so far away from the Diggs thing right now. I don't even think it's worth entertaining. I don't think the Bills are even worth entertaining it. Now we're talking like August, September, or even later, and he's still out there, then sure, like I'm
sure,
I'm
why not?
totally
Yeah,
open to it. But yeah, right now, like I think it'd be pretty crazy.
yeah. I don't know what benefit it provides to bring him in now. Um, I don't know how that maybe you can spread some knowledge on us exactly how that would work if they sign him and then he kind of starts the season on the pup list or the
Yeah.
injured reserve. How exactly does that work for the cap? I don't know if you know the answer to that one, but if you do,
I don't like you don't get a cap savings for that. There's not a cap savings.
yeah.
So
So then it's like, what benefit? Yeah,
I'd rather get a receiver in the draft than bring Diggs back. He was a toxic cancer in the locker room and made us take a 32 win. Yeah, I mean, I think that's where we're all at, right? Like I don't think you'd want to deal with all the stuff that comes with him during the off season. And then yeah, like I don't even think he's gonna be ready in September. So I want to go younger. I definitely want to draft a wide receiver, right? I mean, essentially we only have four right now anyway, so we definitely need to draft one. And again, if we're talking, into the season and he's still out there and he's rehabbing and ready to come back, like maybe, I don't know. I don't think it's the worst idea, but I definitely think it'd be a terrible idea in the off season and especially with his injury. Like you're just asking for so much distraction.
yeah. I'm on board. It's an odd situation again. Like I don't know how else to describe it. Like I said, besides weird.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like, hey, I'm bored. Let's fire up social media and
Yeah,
see what I can kick up. Like, you
honestly,
know,
that's what it feels like.
if he was healthy, I think it'd be different as far as I would think like is he trolling people? Is he trying to garner interest, to sign with
Yeah,
somebody? But he's still injured and so I don't even think there's teams like very interested in signing him to begin with.
right.
So all right, well we'll move on from that one and we'll get into some other guys that are coming back. So first up we'll start with everybody's favorite topic to discuss last year, which was Damar Hamlin. He returns. What's your thoughts on Demar coming back at a relatively cheap-ish deal?
I think it was what 1 year, like 2 or 2.5
Yeah, it was the
million. Yeah, it was whatever. It was low. Um, whatever is the word I would use to describe it. I think I'm hoping there's a better plan than just slotting him in there for 1 more year. The fact that they only brought him back for 1 more year kind of makes me think that they they don't really necessarily want him back. I don't know how to else describe that. Like
I think that's
I
a
think he's a
good
depth
way.
piece. Like I think
Right.
he's just
I think that's the way to look at it is I
right.
think the
Like I
way
think it's the
they let him
insurance
walk.
plan.
Right.
Yeah,
I think it's they let him walk, see what's out there. There's nothing really out there, and you bring him back cheap and you tell him, hey man, you know, of course you can battle for the starting job, but
It's
realistically, I
not his
think
job.
right. I think
Yeah.
he's cornerback 3 or 4, depending on what happens in the
Safety.
draft
Yeah.
and free agent. Sorry, safety and special teamer, man. And he's a good locker room guy, good special teamer. And I, at that cost, at 1 year, whatever, 2 million or under, I don't think it's the worst thing, man. He's a good floor. I don't think
Yeah.
to me personally, he's a bottom tier like starting safety, borderline not a starting safety.
Yeah. Somewhere
But you could
25
do a
to
lot worse,
30.
man. As far as if he's your safety 3, and he's not a liability. That's the other thing. Like, he does his job. He doesn't always do it the best because he's limited athletically. But again, you could do a lot worse if that's your safety 3. So I'm happy to see him back. My only issue with him coming back is I don't want it to inhibit going for more. So like I love the Derek Forrest signing because I think he's really athletic and gives you upside and that's the guys I want to get on the team is I want to get younger, more athletic and guys you can develop. So I don't mind DeMar being in there, especially if it moves Cam Lewis back to the backup nickel, special
Slot
teams
corner,
guy, yeah, slot and the dime guy, whatever. I would much rather Cam Lewis slide into that and not be my 4th safety. But yeah, like Big Papa said, he's a good backup safety, not a reliable starter. We need a big safety like Kyle Hamilton. There's a couple of those in this draft. I don't know if I necessarily agree with like a big safety. I just think I want to get more athletic and guys who do more and be more interchangeable. I think I don't want a guy who just does one thing, deep half or in the box, things like that. Like I think that's where I want to get younger and more athletic. And a guy like Derek Forrest can do that. Obviously Cole Bishop as well. Like see how he develops. But I really hope they draft a guy here. I would love to take a mid round, early day 3, something like that on a safety, and bring in a guy that they like with traits that they can develop as well. And so I don't mind the DeMar thing, especially at that price. Like he might not even make the roster. Who knows?
Yeah,
But he's definitely an insurance, right?
Yeah, it almost feels like kind of the Bills doing what we talked about last week, which was like, what are the Bills going to do at safety? I think a lot of it's dependent on Cole Bishop's development, and this feels like if he doesn't develop how we want him to, and he's not ready to start, and then we draft a rookie, and that rookie's obviously not probably going to start because the Bills aren't going to. I don't expect the Bills to spend an early pick on a safety, so then you're looking at like 3rd, 4th round guys, 5th round guys, and the Bills generally haven't started those and those types of guys in their rookie year. I think Benford may have been the one outlier, starting at corner in his rookie year, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But with all that being said, it just feels like an insurance policy. Like,
Levi rotated in?
Yeah.
I think I want to say Dane did too his rookie year, but not like outright starters though.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But,
I mean,
but
I think that's what you want at safety though, is right. You want to get a guy
an
late.
insurance policy, yeah.
Right, and Hamlin gives you that ability to. I mean, if he's your safety 4,
Sure.
and Forrest is 3 or whatever, and then you have Bishop and Rapp, like I'm okay with that. But yeah, he plays special teams, and that's what you need to. And yeah, he knows the defense, and he can come in a pinch. So as long as the plan isn't for him to start, then I'm totally fine with bringing him back. So we'll go over the next guy who is being brought back again for his 2nd stint. Good old Dane. Boy, man, cornerback situation is a little rough right now, man. You got, we'll get into the Kyer thing a little bit later, but you have Benford on the one side, and then you got Taryn obviously in the slot, and then you have Dane Jackson now and Jamarcus Ingram. So there's still work to be done at corner, but I honestly don't mind this signing at all. Again, it's kind of similar to the Hamlin one. Is like if he's your 3rd or outside corner or your 4th outside corner, you could do a whole hell of a lot worse. I just don't want to see him starting games. Like if he's got to come in because the guy's banged up, play a few plays or finish out a game, I feel totally fine with that. But if he's got to go in there and play and start a couple weeks, I'm concerned, and I just don't want to see that again with a limited athletic guy on the outside.
Yeah, we've gone through the Dane Jackson experience. There's a reason they let him walk. I really hope he's not the cornerback two. The
God,
role
he
for
better not be,
cornerback two.
dude.
God, it would
He
just be
better
brutal.
not be.
I mean, especially he's going to be 29 this year. Like, he was never really an athletic guy to begin with. Now he's getting older. Like, he was gone for 1 year. He's back. He didn't play well last year. Please just be like a camp body, special teams, cornerback 4 or 5, like whatever they decide to do with him. That's really all I can say about Dane right now.
Yeah, I saw some people like really upset about it. I just don't
I'm
understand
not upset
Like,
about it. No.
right, it's the same thing with Hamlin. It's like if that's the floor, right? If that's your depth piece, then that's great. And battling for a roster spot. But if they're like literally going to be your starters, then we're in serious trouble. So I don't mind those at all. They know the system, and I'm totally fine with that. So we had a question here from Big Papa. He said James Cook just posted a story on his Instagram hanging out with Zay Flowers. What do you guys think of that with all the contract antics? I don't really think too much of that stuff. Those guys are both from South Florida, and a lot of these guys hang out with each other in the offseason. I don't really think it means anything. It's kind of a different league now where so many of these guys hang out with different players and things like that. I think in South Florida, Deion Dawkins always hangs out with different guys from different teams. I think he was with what's the defensive tackle from the Jets? I'm drawing a blank. The really, really good one. He got traded to is he on Seattle now? Not the young one. Drawing a blank here.
Oh man, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Anyway, he was seen with him in Florida on his boat, and it's like it's not that big a deal. Like these guys hang out with each other all the time.
Yeah, I think Flowers went to Boston College. Cook went to what, FSU? Is that right? I don't remember, man. That was a while
Cook.
ago. So, like,
Cook
they
went
played
to
against-
what? Yeah,
They played
but no,
against
I think
each
they're
other.
from the same area.
Yeah, Flowers is definitely from South Florida, and I know Cook was too. Like, these guys know each other. I wouldn't think too much into it, especially like James Cook's not going to Baltimore. They got Derrick Henry right now. He's still under contract with the Bills. Like, Flowers is under contract with the Ravens. Not thinking into it too much.
Yeah, Zay's from Fort Lauderdale, and he played at University School, which we know well in Davie, and then James Cook is from Miami Central. So, those guys down in the area hang out. What's funny is what's your thoughts on the American Heritage connection now? We got multiple guys now from American Heritage down in South Florida on the Bills that overlapped a little bit, with Bosa being the first one.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big school in the state, or in South Florida, for producing
Powerhouse too, right?
Yeah, it's a powerhouse school for producing athletes from football to baseball, soccer, basketball, doesn't matter. It's one of those programs where you go there to
Josh Palmer played there. It's
you
St.
go
Thomas
there-
Aquinas. Sorry, I forgot St. Thomas
Yeah,
Aquinas.
okay.
Same thing though.
Either way, they're the same school. You go there for your athletic abilities, not necessarily for academics, because a lot of those guys are going pro that go through that school.
Yeah, seriously, man. They pump them out of there.
Yeah.
My school had to play them in high school. It was not pretty. All right, next up is another guy coming back again for another stint, is Darrington Evans. Again, he signed before Ty Johnson signed back, and I think a lot of people were a little nervous about that and were wondering if that meant anything for Ty Johnson. But it's his third stint back on the team. He's that extra fourth or fifth running back to get you through camp and preseason, and he brings a little juice and some versatility with some of his kickoff stuff that he can do. And, he made the roster last year if it wasn't for his injury. So I like it. And I definitely don't think it has anything to do with Ty Johnson, just for the fact of you got to have 5-6 guys, running back at least through camp and preseason.
Yeah, that's all I see it is camp body. Like it's gonna be the same thing he did last year. Like if he stays healthy, maybe he makes the roster, special teams guy, or ends up on practice squad. Um, I don't expect the running back room to change at all, assuming and like God forbid James Cook decides he doesn't want to show up and holds out, whatever, that's on him. Bills are probably bringing somebody else in to fill that role. Like they're not
Yeah.
expecting Darrington Evans to fill James Cook or move everybody up one tier. That's just not going to happen, in my opinion. And even if that does happen, they're still going to bring another guy in on top of that because generally most teams aren't rolling into the season with two running backs with a third guy who's floating around a practice squad.
Yeah, no, he's been on a bunch of teams too.
Yeah.
I mean, at this stage of his career, I think
With
he's
the Bills.
right. I think he's happy to come back to the Bills. He's comfortable. The team's comfortable with him. They know what they're going to get from him, and he's fun to watch, man. And that's all you can ask for from a running back four with some juice. I mean, you brought up the Cook thing. Do you think there's any chance he's not on the roster to start camp or the season?
You left that as a pretty easy answer question. Like, yeah, there's always a chance he's not on the roster. He could hold out and we could trade him. Super, super unlikely. Like, could be less than 1% chance, in my opinion. Try not to read too much into the offseason antics. And honestly, I think it's kind of backfired on him. The running back market is not what people were thinking, what the free agent running backs thought it was going to be. These guys aren't, besides Barkley getting paid.
This year's there was really no one who got paid. I mean, even like you saw Rico Dowd, who had a good year, got like 1 year, $3 million or something. And a lot of them were like 1 year deals. Like even Najee Harris out to the Chargers got like 1 year, $10 million. So the market's not great, man.
Yeah, like Najee Harris, Rico Dowdle, and then the rest of the guys that got signed. Just there were some guys that got re-signed. Aaron Jones got re-signed. Mm-hmm. So it was a lot of that stuff.
I think it depends on the draft or injuries or what's open, and if a team gets aggressive and if they make the Bills a good offer, then I could see it happen. But I don't know, man. If I'm the Bills, I ride Cook to the ground, man, and just put up with his crap, go through the year, and then say thanks, and see what he gets on the market. If he doesn't get a good, any good offers, then I would definitely, look to re-sign him. But me, I don't like re-signing running backs to begin with, unless they're like literally Barkley or Derrick Henry. Otherwise, I'm letting them walk. So, I don't know. And then
on top of that, it's like, his cap hit's not astronomical this year. So hypothetically, if he holds out, it hurts him more than it hurts the Bills.
I don't think he'll hold out, man. I don't.
Right.
I think that hurts him more. And he doesn't really have money to lose. He got a nice little bump to $5.6 million. I mean, I guess the Bills could do some incentive stuff, but I don't think there's an incentive for the Bills to do that. So, I just let him play it out and then, address it in the next offseason. So Papa asked Darrington Evans or Frank Gore for running back 4. I mean, I think it's Darrington Evans all day, and you saw it last year while he made it. And it's more so because of the explosiveness and then special teams. He plays special teams, and Frank Gore doesn't have the explosion and the speed and doesn't play special teams. Yeah. So as fun of a story as Frank Gore is, and he's an efficient runner. He gains some yards. He just doesn't have the pop that you would want.
There's a lot of Frank Gores in the NFL, like Frank Gore Jr. in the NFL.
We got Sarah with a couple things. Yeah. She's saying Diggs put up the Vikings picks back up too, allegedly, so it's probably as simple as his agent telling him to put his career picks back up to get a bad taste out of Houston and Buffalo antics out of his team's mouth. Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense for sure. Again, I think he might be, he needs to be just chill for this summer and not make a lot of news and try to be cool, man, and just do some training and stuff like that. And sure, going on social media, but like, he's got to be careful, man, because if he starts stirring the pot or whatever, it's only going to hurt his market more. And coming off that ACL is rough. So
I got something for you. You think he's putting the stuff back up because he potentially hangs up the cleats? Is
Could
there
be, man. I mean, you never know with those knee injuries. If something
right?
happened,
Like,
if the surgery didn't go well, we're obviously purely speculating here, and we've
yeah,
heard nothing. But
yeah, literally
yeah, you,
no.
you
This is
you
my
never
idea
know,
right
man.
now.
That you're over 30 and you have an injury like that, you just never know. I mean, it was kind of the end of OBJ, so well, we'll definitely see. But yeah, I mean. I definitely agree with you, Sarah. We kind of talked about that to start the episode tonight. Is just like there's no reason for him to sign right now. Like he's got to prove he's healthy. I don't think there's much of a market for him. Teams aren't going to be throwing cash out there when they're not even sure he's going to come back healthy. So yeah, I
And then
definitely think it'd
even
be a 1 year deal, but I think it would be into the season, not before.
yeah, yeah. I don't think teams want to do medical evals on a guy who's in the middle of his rehab right now. Um,
Right.
Especially what everyone just saw happen to Deshaun Watson re-tearing his Achilles. Obviously, kind of a
Right.
freak thing, but like it happens.
Right. All right. Let's get back to the guys have come back. So next up is Reggie Gilliam. Obviously, that I think that was a big one for me. It was a no-brainer. I'm
Yeah,
really happy they brought him back. Core special teamer, great locker room dude, and his versatility I think is really underrated for Bills fans. The fact he can line up as a fullback, and then also split out wide when he needs to, can catch the ball, and then he plays core 4-team special teamer. So I think that was kind of a no-brainer to bring him back. Happy he's back. You got any thoughts on him?
kind of what you just said. He's kind of like our Swiss Army knife for the offense, as far as like can line up in line as a blocker, can line up as fullback, can split him out wide, and then I think the biggest thing, it's a little underrated for him, is like he's a great special teams player. Can really, he's laid some hits on some guys in the past. So good little addition to bring him back. I don't think there's too much to it. He's not. It's not like he's going to be tight end two, or fight for a starting job. Like he has a role in the team. I think it'll work out well. I don't think there's anything extra into it.
Yep, I agree. We'll go right into the next one. Ty Johnson brought back. I know some people were worried that it didn't happen sooner, but they bring him back. Definitely happy about that. I think he's the perfect third down candidate for this team. Josh really likes the way he sees the field. Really good in pass pro. And I think he's a good complement to the other two guys, being Cook and Ray Davis. And it buys the Bills another year to play with Cook's limited ability on third down. I think that's the big thing for me is,
Yeah.
James Cook, he only plays on like 50% or just under because the Bills can't trust him in pass
Pass pro.
protection. Yeah, and you saw it on the last possession of that Kansas City Chiefs game at the end of the year. He immediately got burnt by, I think it was Karlaftis, and allowed a pressure, and Josh couldn't, stand in the pocket and deliver a pass. And so I think that's my problem with James Cook is he's just not a complete back. And so Ty Johnson's a really good pair with him because he is good on third down. He's versatile. And he's really good even split out wide and catching the ball. We saw that in Detroit and a couple other games last year. So I think he's a really good pair. I even like when they give him some carries, and I'm really happy he's back.
Yeah, I love this for the Bills. I think almost every Bills fan is glad that this happened. Also, one thing you didn't touch on, like good special teams guy, can go back there, return kicks.
Yep, good call.
Yeah, so I think just factoring that plus the fact that Josh trusts him, which is probably the biggest thing. Like Josh trusts him in pass pro, and he knows he's going to be in the right spot when he's going out for a pass, whatever he's doing, whether it's against zone or man. And they can audible to a run with him if they need to. Like he can pick up some chunk yards, like he had some chunk carries last year. And the thing that I like the most about it was it's a 2-year deal they brought him back on, not a 1-year deal. So like if they want him next year, they can keep him.
That's another
which
good
is
point.
great, right? So I think you factor in all that, and it's good. The running back locker room is pretty much shored up for this year and hopefully next year as well, depending what happens with Cook.
Yeah, I agree, man. I'm happy he's back, and I'm glad he's extended.
Yeah,
Um, Cook, yeah, he was better last year, at least with the
he
hands.
was
But
better last year with the hands. Yeah,
and I mean, I do want to give Cook his flowers though, as far as like he's gotten better year over year. And last year you saw another big jump. He put on some
physicality
weight.
last year
Yep, way
was
more physical
totally
this
different.
year between the tackles for sure. And so I don't want to be hating on James Cook. I really like him, and I think he's a big piece of this team and this offense. I just don't think he's worth what he wants. I don't think he's worth 12, 15 million a year because he doesn't play 80% of the snaps plus, and he's not a volume back either. And so that's where I really struggle with evaluating him price wise, because I do think he is dynamic and he does bring something different to this offense. So hopefully we don't have to have that discussion this off season, and we can talk about it next off season. So no, I agree with you, Sarah. I think that's where a lot of Bills fans are frustrated. I mean, at least I am with him. Is like you're coming off a great year. You just got a raise because of the way the contracts are, right? So you went from what a little over $1 million to 5.6 million. You have your last year to play. Like just do what you've been doing, man. Be the quiet professional. Go get better and have another great year. And I guarantee he'd get paid, man. He'll get paid by somebody. But to do what he's doing now, I think is not good for the team. It's not good for his chances with staying with the team. And then it creates unnecessary drama that I think only hurts him. I don't think it helps him.
Yeah, I feel like the Cook talk is it's kind of what it's been all whole off season, and I don't think it's gotten any different. It's like nobody's going to pay him. Bills aren't paying him $15 million. I'd be shocked if they did. They haven't done it with running backs in the past. I don't think they're going to do it now.
They better not, man.
Yeah. So after that,
We'd
it's
have to
like,
have a 2-hour episode just talking about what a mistake it is to pay him 15 mil per.
yeah.
So.
So I don't think there's too much more to that though. Like just I love that Ty Johnson's back. It's good for the team, the locker room
For
stability
sure.
for Josh. That's really all it is.
All right, let's get next up is an interesting one. We're gonna go to some new guys now. Laviska Shenault, man, what was your thoughts when you saw the Bills signing him here to add to the returner wide receiver room?
I don't know how I feel about. Okay, I don't want to say I don't know how I feel about it because I'm about to tell you guys, but I don't know how. My thoughts are I don't know where he kind of fits in. Like, what was the idea of bringing him in outside of maybe like can he earn himself a rostered spot? But it's like they have kick returners, they have punt returners, and Chenault's not a punt returner. I don't think he's ever
never
returned punts. Yeah, he's
never.
never
Yep.
returned punts. So then you're looking at a guy who's a kick returner who can kind of play wide receiver. And looking at the Bills wide receiver room right now, like I don't want this guy anywhere near the lineup. He's not been he's not been stable at the wide receiver position his entire career. So then it's just kind of like what's the idea behind this outside of like a camp body? I don't know. Like he's not Mac Hollins.
No, I mean I think he's
Right.
he's your DeMar Hamlin or Hamler, sorry. KJ Hamler, sorry.
KJ
Man,
Hamler, yeah.
DeMar on my brain. Yeah, he's your KJ Hamler. He's your
It's like I don't.
he's
I
your
don't-
Chase
ahead.
Claypool type. He's your guy
Yeah.
that you're bringing in to see what is there, because if you look at his rookie year and his second year, he had 58 catches on 77 targets, and then he had 63 catches on 95 targets, over 600 yards both years, and then he just fell off, man. He went to Carolina, had 27 catches on 32 targets, and then he had 10 catches on 10 targets in 2023 for Carolina. And then last year between the Chargers and Seattle, he had 5 catches on 5 targets. So, I mean, I think he's a young guy with very athletic, big body, 6'2", 220. And when he was coming out, people really thought he had a chance to be something, especially with the ball in his hands. So I love these moves, man. Get him in, kick the tires on him. It's always good to get a good look at at these guys. And if worse comes to worse and you cut him, then so be it. And he's maybe a body you can pick up later in the year. Maybe you can stash him. Maybe he's a practice squad guy. Who knows what happens to your other kick returners. I do think it's interesting though with the rules changing to go into the 35-yard line for kickoffs.
Yeah, that's the one thing that
Right. Do they want to have another guy on the roster that is a legit threat with kick returns? Do they think that more guys are? And so maybe that's why you bring in more guys that are kick returners that are lethal at doing it. And then you play the preseason, right? And you see how things go. And then you decide. But you could do a lot worse than him as your fifth or sixth wide receiver, it's like athletically and size-wise. But, yeah, it did cost you much.
yeah, feels a lot like the Chase Claypool signing from last year. It was like they brought him in, they'll see what he's got, and that they'll stick him back there, and that's kind of really all I see potentially happening.
Yeah, the Diggs thing just won't die.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen there. So
I think that's a good point too. The Bills have made the AFC Championship with and without James Cook. I just,
Yeah.
for me, I don't think it's running back that makes necessarily is the guy that makes the difference unless everything around you is perfectly set up, a la the Eagles that take you over the edge. Look at the Ravens. Even bringing in Derrick Henry wasn't enough to get them over the hump, right? And so,
right.
and that's a Hall of Fame caliber running back. So I don't know. I'm not trying to say they're not good. I just don't think one guy is going to bring you over the hump. And so, yeah, if you're paying Cook $15 million, that's potentially 2-3 other guys that you could be paying that might help you get over the hump. So, and then you could draft an undrafted running back, or a 6th rounder or 5th rounder can do it. Ray Davis. So I don't know. I just don't like investing all that. All right, so Sarah likes the Laviska Shenault because he's a Swiss Army knife. So I agree. I mean, I think this is what you do. You got to get up to 90 bodies, right? And so you got to bring guys in that are cheap and that are interesting. And I'd much rather than bring in guys like this that might have some untapped potential, that are versatile, than bring in veteran old guys that are just there to for bodies. So
Yeah, that part I agree with.
another guy similar that they're kicking around is Kendrick Green, not to be confused with Kenyon Green. I know that happens. But I think this is just you can't bodyguard. Will Clapp is not coming back, and so you just got to get a couple more linemen. I'm sure we'll might draft one late 7th round or something. We might go UDFA again, bring in a couple more bodies, but you just need a couple more bodies to get through camp. I don't, maybe he's a practice squad guy that Cromer thinks he can develop, but I don't think there's really a chance at the roster with bringing him on.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's a camp body. Maybe something happens in the offseason, like outside chance, but he played significant snaps in 3 games last year with Houston. Didn't necessarily
Really bad.
Well,
Really bad.
yeah, like you look at it's not the end all be all with PFF, but they do grade on a certain scale, and it's pretty bad.
I don't know if I've ever seen that bad. Like, so against the Jets, he had 35 pass blocking snaps, and he had a 0.4. Like, I'm not sure I've ever seen someone get a 0.4
I don't know
before.
how to do that. And then
Right.
and then he came back in week 16 against Kansas City and got a 12.
Yeah, and then look how good he did, against
Yeah,
Baltimore, he had a 67.6. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I kind of liked him coming out of Illinois, 6'4", 315. He's got a little versatility on the inside. And, who knows with Cromer, man. That guy is a magician. I trust him.
Yeah.
So, if he wants to
Take
kick
a
it
shot
around,
on the
then
guy,
so be
by
it.
all means, let it go. Yeah.
So, all right, next
touch
up.
on your favorite player so far.
This is my favorite guy. So next up's Derek Forrest. We talked about him the episode right before free agency when we were covering safeties. I liked him coming out of Cincinnati, and so I just think if you're gonna swing on guys, he's the kind of guy you want to swing on who athletic upside. When he played well. They had a regime change, defensive coordinator change, and he had an injury as well and kind of fell out of favor. And so you snag guys like this that are, 24, 25, and that play special teams, that are athletic and have shown flashes. And, that's how you find your Jordan Poyers, your Micah Hydes. And so I love this swing. I'm not saying he's going to be one of those guys, but I think it's a really good economical swing on a guy that shown potential.
Yeah, I love this deal for the Bills. There's the upside for him to start. I don't know if that's necessarily what they brought him in to do, but he's a good option for the Bills, especially on a cheap deal that they brought him in for. Big RAS score guy, relative athletic score. Coming out of college in 2021, I think he was 25th out of 200 and something guys with an RAS score since they started basically scoring guys. So just athletic freak. His only downside is he's a little small. He's not that small in comparison to other guys who play safety. I think he was 5'11", which is
right. So he scored a 9.69 out of 10. So that's really good. He ran a 4.42. He's 5'11" and 4 tenths or 4/12, whatever. So he's 206 though, so he's not small. 21 reps on the bench press, so that's really good. That's elite. Yep. 39 vertical, which is elite. 11-foot broad, which is elite. His 10-yard split, 20-yard split are both elite as well. And then he had good agility scores. So, like you said, good athlete, and he was 25th out of 772 safeties. So. Yeah,
worst case scenario, they bring him in and he's just kind of a guy. He's there for a little bit and then he leaves. Best case scenario, he outperforms Bishop and starts and is a really good safety for multiple years in the future. But the Bills have done it, with Poyer and Hyde in the past, where they took some guys that were athletic and could fit the roles that they thought they could fill. I still think it's going to be Bishop, but if Bishop doesn't turn out to be what they thought he was, then here's your backup to that plan. So.
Yeah. A comment says an interesting discussion to
I see that
to talk about. So we'll catch up and talk about it as well. So Poppy said Aaron Kromer doesn't get enough credit for Josh Allen winning MVP, best O-line Bills had in the Josh Allen era. And Sarah said, Kromer had bad years too, though. I think it's as much, if not more, the talent we brought in. We finally got the spots right, in my opinion, and a focus on run blocking and actually running the ball helped too. I remember the year before, fans were calling for his job. Yeah, I mean, offensive line is never just one thing. A lot of it is continuity between the guys on the line. Of course, the better talent you have, the better chance they have to play well. It's on the offensive coordinator as well, calling plays and having good scheme that set it up. Kromer, with his technique as well, is a big one. And, Kromer's the run game coordinator as well and works well with Brady to figure out how to marry the plays. And I think that's part of it too, is marrying plays so they look the same. And the defense isn't sure if they're going to run or pass out of it. And I think that helps the offensive line as well. When you have that marriage, we saw under Dorsey, they didn't have that marriage, and pass plays, looked very different than run plays, and so that helps the defense a lot. And so part of that relationship with Kromer and Brady, I think, is key. But I don't think it's ever just one thing. We've seen some of the best offensive line coaches in football history have bad offensive lines, like Dante Scarnecchia in New England. Callahan, has had some bad ones too. And so I don't think it's just one or the other. I do think finding the right fits matters a lot too. So, every offensive line coach and even offensive coordinators are going to want a certain style of play, whether they're running, gap or zone or the type of pass sets they're going to do. And I think that's part of it too, pass protection sets. Josh demands a certain type of pass protection as well. I think you got to be careful with interior pressure, like with any quarterback, but especially Josh, because the way he likes to step up in the pocket, you can't let, your guards and your center get pushed back into his lap. And so they really tried to find guys who could set a really good anchor and keep that depth of pocket. And then they got really athletic tackles for a reason, right? So they could keep a play alive. And you see a lot of times, man, when Josh is running around back there, it's Dion and Spencer that are running around back there with him
they're kind
to
of
try to
let their guys go by, and then
Yes.
they're literally looking around like
they'll push their guys by so Josh can slide up, and then they're looking to where can they help, where they got to move to, and you need athletic guys like that. So I think part of it is finding the right players, developing those players, and then continuity too. Like these guys now are going to be going into year 3 of playing next to each other and finding complements that work well next to each other and communication. So I think it's not just one thing. I don't think it's just Cromer, but man, it's hard to argue that everyone hasn't gotten better under Cromer. Like literally every guy on the offensive line has gotten better under him, and even the guys like Grable and Vandemark and Alec Anderson. Sarah says Saffold, but Saffold came in 1 year at the end of his career with multiple injuries, and he'll say his shoulder was really, really bad. Like he could not gain any leverage. So yeah, you can call him out, but he was mid-30s at the end of his career, and he came in.
Not developing that guy. You're not
right.
Yeah.
So I think it's awesome what Cromer's done, and I hope he keeps it going, man, because they've hit on so many. They're so deep at offensive line right now. It's unreal, man. Like 12 deep of guys that I really like.
Big year for Cyrus Torrance this year, like
for sure. Can he take another step? He started a little slow last year, and part of that was having McGovern next to him, and then you saw him get better and better and better, and he was quality. I won't say he was as good as the year before, in flashes, but he was really quality, man. He's a quality starter.
For sure.
If he puts another year like that or better, he's gonna get paid, man. So all right, next up is Josh Palmer, a guy we talked about on our show. I know a lot of content creators for the Bills really liked him as well. Part of that was that there wasn't a big pool of exciting guys available out there. So he was definitely one of them. That brings size, some speed, and just really, really good route running. I think he's a really good fit. He doesn't demand the ball, but he's put together some really good years for the Chargers when you're talking a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 type role. So happy they got Josh Palmer. I think he fits in really well right now. With Keon and him on the outside, and then you have Samuel and Shakir, and then obviously Kincaid as well rotating on the inside. They got to do something else at outside receiver. They have to. You can't just go into the year with 2 outside receivers. And so I think that's where you might see draft, you might see another veteran or something, but you have to have another guy on the outside to be your 5th wide receiver that can rotate with those 2 guys. So I'm interested to see what the Bills do. I think the needs that went into free agency are probably still the needs. We talked about, deep defensive tackle, D-end, corner, and wide receiver. And I think those are all still the needs. Did they get better? Sure. But I don't think that those are positions that you feel ready for the season. And that's why we're in March and not, September saying that. So there'll be more moves, and we'll definitely, look into a lot of the draft prospects for those positions specifically. But I think Josh Palmer's a really nice fit and brings a really nice floor to that wide receiver room. Like, there might not be a lot of flashy names, but I really like the way those 4 guys, at least, the skill sets they bring and how they complement each other.
Yeah. First thing I'd like to say is, like, when you're evaluating Palmer, do not look at his stats from last year. Like the Greg Roman offense that they ran in LA featured 1 wide receiver, and that was it. Like, it was there was nothing else going on for any of those guys there. A little concerning when you kind of think back to when he was slotted into the wide receiver 1 role. We had talked about this. couple of years ago, but like I don't think he's gonna be the.
He was
wide
never
receiver
slotted in wide receiver one though. Like he was only put there because
right.
of
Because
injury.
injury, right? Like when he had
But
opportunities, some games
that year he
were-
had 70 catches for 700 yards. So
right. But like he's not going to be the Bills' wide receiver one. They didn't bring him in to do that. Um,
right.
Yeah,
For
and
sure.
and based on the pool of guys that's out there, like I'm happy they went and got him. The
Right,
one thing that sticks out to me that you touched on last week is like he beats man coverage frequently
sure.
and like
Yeah,
very
top 10 in the
consistently.
NFL.
So
Yeah.
that's going to help. The Bills had a problem with that last year. So
Yeah, I think
I wanna
that's a
bring
great
up
point.
this-
He's a professional route runner, man. Runs the
Yeah.
full route tree, and I think that's big too. And as long as they bring in another outside wide receiver and you can rotate those three pieces, I think that's huge, man. Because I do like Josh Palmer a lot, and I think he's going to get a lot of snaps. But like you said, I don't need him getting 100. I'd like him to get 70, 75.
sure.
Right, and Keon gets 70, 75, and then your other guy, hopefully it's a rookie with some upside, gets your
50 to
50 or something. Exactly.
Yeah, I want to bring up this comment from Sarah that got posted. So not this one, this one here. So she doesn't like the contract. So we only know what they paid him. It's 3 years, 36 million. We have no idea how it's structured right now. Like it's not been released. We don't know what the cap hits are. We don't know how much is a signing bonus. We don't know how much what goes into the void years that could potentially come up, kind of like how they structured Hoyt's contract. That one's out there. Like there's void years incorporated into it. How much is incentive based? So we just have what the media is telling us.
It's also what the going rate for wide receivers right
like-
now, right? Like De'Ami Brown got 10 million. Who else is the other guy who got like 10 million as well? Drawing a blank, but
Zacchaeus.
Slayton got 13 million. Yeah. Zacchaeus just signed. I don't think he got that much, but
Either
there was
way.
another outside wide receiver that got 10 million as well.
Yeah,
And
there was.
I just think that's what they're going for, man. Is they're going for around 12 million, 10 million, and I think that's what I think it'll be incentives there. I don't think it's going to be straight 12 million like you were saying, but again, like don't let the sticker shock surprise you. Like the cap has gone up like 60 million in the last 2 years. So yeah, these contracts are going to be really surprising and catch you off guard for these I don't want to say like not starters or lower tier guys, but yeah, these mid tier guys on your roster are going to get paid a lot more than you're used to. So I wasn't worried about the cost.
No.
I was just happy they got him because it really raises the floor of that wide receiver room. I mean, because what I didn't want them to go pick up someone that would slot in behind Samuel as far as what you expect for touches. And when Curtis Samuel's healthy, like we've all seen, he is a weapon and he could be used, but he's not a volume guy and he can't stay healthy. He's shown that. And so I wanted them to bring in a guy who could be on the outside for volume of the snaps and get open. And that's what he can do, man. He can take, snaps and he gets open and he's a big guy, man. He's not a little guy. That was the other thing I didn't want either. So, I want guys over 6'1", 200 pounds on the outside. All right, next up is a big one. Arguably the biggest signing is Joey Bosa. I don't think anyone had it on the radar. We didn't talk about it because I figured he would go to 49ers with his brother, do a 1-year prove-it deal. With all the things going on with the 49ers, that didn't happen. And then Miami was reported to be in on him as well. And they tried to lowball him, I guess. And so I was happy that we swooped in and took him. I think it's I don't want to say a big risk. I think it's a big reward to me for what is a low risk as far as it's 1 year, it's $12.5 million. And the ceiling when he's healthy and when he plays is a top 15 edge rusher. And that's what they needed. Those don't grow on trees. Those aren't cheap. They weren't able to make the big trades, that we thought might be possible that didn't end up being possible. And so I think he's the caliber of player that a lot of people want. It's just, it's the health concerns and the inability to stay on the field.
Yeah. I honestly don't know why there was so much hate for the Bills signing him. Like, it seemed like I saw more about people disliking this,
I
but
think it was more fans though, because it seemed
that's
like
what I mean.
media
Yeah,
and stuff and analysts really liked the
they
signing.
did, but from a Bills fans perspective, it was like, oh well, we just let Von Miller go, and he was an aging pass rusher who got hurt, and this and that. But like, they're different guys. Bosa's under 30. Yeah, he hasn't played an entire season in quite a long time, but like, Bills aren't going to have him play 75 snaps or 75% of the snaps. Like, that's not what they're going to ask him to do. He's going to be in a rotational role. He's going to come in, play a lot of third down. And he's good against the run. Like, he knows how to play the run. You can put him in there. And as long as he stays on the field, like, they're going to get good production out of him. He's always produced when he's on the field. That's just been the problem, is like when he's not on the field. And then on top of all of that, like, it's a 1-year deal. So the risk in that is there's not really much there. Like, yeah, they signed him to it, but the defensive end market is really slow. There wasn't really a big one this year. And he was probably the best candidate out there at that point in free agency. And for 1 year, I like the risk.
Certainly for
I
the
don't-
price. I mean, you
for
saw
the price,
guys
sure.
go for really expensive that don't have the sacks that and the production,
Yeah.
even just the pass rush win rate that Bosa has. So
Yep, I'm on board with it, and like, it's not like it's that much money. It's like what ended up being about 12 million a year, which is like
yeah, dude, it's nothing
Bills
for
were
an
willing to-
edge. For
for an edge
a
rusher,
possible
yeah.
edge one, like yeah, no way, man.
Like, the
It's
Bills literally ate the cap from Diggs last year. $30+ million. They just ate that cap.
yeah, we'll get back to this Bobby
So,
comment, but yeah,
yeah.
Sarah says we wouldn't get a chance at that kind of upside without risk because we couldn't afford it. Yeah, that's exactly it. I
Right.
think that's a great way to put it. Is like the upside is so great, and so of course there's risk. Like, but really, like he's played more snaps over the last 3 years, like progressively. Every year he's played more and more snaps. A lot of his injuries are soft tissue type stuff, so those can be reoccurring. So you just hope he's healthy right now. He goes healthy into the year, and then they can load manage him and escalate him or elevate him in critical moments and when we go down the stretch run. But yeah, risk reward, I think it's unbelievable. It's a great swing. It's my favorite move by far this year, but your dad
Yeah.
texted us and said it's his favorite move in the last 3 years.
3 years.
So shout out Cubby, but yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll get back to Bobby's question real quick. So you think they try to go and make another splash similar to this? It's not necessarily blockbuster, but it's surprising for sure. Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's a lot of time left here. The Bills, we're going to get over the Bills cap here later on. We'll talk about that. But yeah, I think they have some room. There's a couple moves they can make to free up a lot of cap space. And who knows what happened. Guys, there's still going to be more veterans that get released. Obviously, with the draft and stuff like that as well. So yeah, they could still make another swing and I wouldn't count that out. I think Bean and McDermott understand the pressure to win now. I mean, I think we're at the precipice, and now we're on the opposite side of we need to keep our roster good for the longevity of Josh Allen's career, and we're getting now to the backside of like, we're past the midway point of Josh Allen's career. Like, we got to capitalize on the good years we have left. And I think, yeah, you got to make moves while you can. And so there's cap space that we could create to make moves. And then there's draft picks. We're not going to draft 10 guys. There's no way.
Yeah, and to touch on one thing you said there, I think from here on out, like, there's no more, oh, this is a rebuild year, whatever. Like, there's no more rebuilding from here on out. Like, Josh is going to be 30 coming up
Right.
in another year or so. Like, from here
You
on
got
out,
to take another big swing. You have to,
Right, you have
like
to
they did with
continue.
Von Miller. And I think they tried, man. It's not that easy, right? Like, you didn't see any of those guys get moved. I mean, Hendrickson's still there, so maybe they're still in on him. But Myles Garrett didn't move. Max Crosby didn't move. Micah Parsons hasn't moved. So like, those guys aren't going anywhere, and Bosa is at that next tier right below these guys. At his best, he's right there. So it's really hard to go make those type of trades, and those guys don't become free agents. Like, it's very, very rare that they become free agents. So usually you have to trade for them, or you have to try to trade up and draft for them. So definitely when we talk about the draft leading up the next few weeks, we're going to run through a bunch of scenarios, including trading up and who's available. And I definitely think that's an avenue that I'd be super interested in, is getting up and getting one of these pass rushers that has upside earlier in the draft. And then at least you have them cost controlled, for the next few years to pair with Greg Rousseau, and they don't have to get thrown right into high snaps when you have, Bosa, and you still have AJ who can eat snaps and bring along a rookie well. So that's definitely a scenario that I would love.
Yeah, I agree.
You see what your dad asked?
No, what did you say?
Your dad said, how about trading for Nick Bosa?
I mean, if you thought that the asking price for what's his name for Trey Hendrickson was outrageous, I'm sure. Yeah.
To me, that it wasn't. I don't think the asking price was like too crazy. I think it's the fact that then you had to pay him.
Yeah.
30 plus million more. While giving up
the rumor was he wanted a first round pick for him, which is
they wanted a first plus, I guess, and then they went down to a 1, and we'll see, man. They might pull the trigger before the draft. You never know. They might wait for their first pick. Who knows? They're not a great run.
Yeah, and if you get
enterprise.
I think the traits for injury history are running the Bosa family. I don't think you'd want to give that much money to another guy, like a guy who's also injury prone, and Nick Bosa. So,
yeah, I don't know, man. I go back and forth. I think I probably would. I think I probably would give up a ton of draft picks, because what's a ton of draft picks for Trey Hendrickson? Like you said, a first. I'd give up a first.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'd give up a first without even thinking twice about it, and I'd pay him. You could structure that deal to where it'd be fine. I don't think Cincinnati would do it. I don't think they will trade him to the Bills unless we absolutely blow him out of the water, and I don't really know what that looks like. But a first, who cares? It's pick 30. We're not talking about early in the first. I'd throw that away in a second. So, I don't know. I think it's more just on the Bengals not wanting to do the deal, honestly.
Yep.
So Bones is saying Bean has a history of moving up in the first. Yeah, I think that's super likely, like we said. I think for sure they can move up.
He also has a history of moving out of the first. So
that was one time. So Sarah, I'd take Nick Bosa. Yeah, so would we all. That would be insane. I get it. He's 30 years old. You'd rather invest in younger players, but we're win. If you're talking win right now, like that's what we want to do. We want to win now. I think that's the swing you make to win right now. That would for sure change things. I mean, if you look at the difference in the Bills the last few years, it's the inability of the defensive line to take over a game or to close out a game. And so that's what I want all my money and picks going to. I don't care if it's someone young or old, as long as they can get the job done. So I think Vaughn originally was a good swing too. You saw him before the injury. That's exactly what they needed.
Vaughn wasn't a good swing. He was a great swing. Like he hit.
So Sarah keeps going back to like the money, but it doesn't matter. The money, we have the money. We can spend that money. Yeah. Like we do have the money. Like you could make the money work. We have plenty of cap room we could make right now, and future years we're set up really well as well to make the cap work. Josh's deal also really helps make the money work in future years. So I wouldn't worry about the money. Like we could make it work. Just go do it, man. Whittle in the house. Thanks, Whittle, for joining us. Whittle says this isn't the draft to be recklessly aggressive. Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think there's a lot of depth farther down in this draft. I think it's really deep in second, third, fourth round talent. I don't think it's super deep that high end first round talent, but with how deep this D line class is and the DN class, I think if there's someone you really like I think you do have to go get them. Just because there's a lot of them, it doesn't mean that it's the type or the guy you want. So I think you selectively move around to get the guys you want in this kind of draft class. I don't necessarily think you move way up though to do it.
Yeah, I agree. It's like this isn't the draft class. I'm jumping up, 15 picks and paying for a guy that could potentially. It's not a year that the skill or the quarterbacks are going to push down everybody else. That's just not going to happen this year. So, or at least not that we would think is going to happen. So, the 4 or 5 picks that you may not have had to move up in a year when 4 or 5 quarterbacks are getting drafted in the top 6, like that doesn't happen this year. So, it kind of changes how the draft is structured.
Yeah, definitely get way more into the draft stuff
Right.
here in a little bit. All right, well, next up, we'll get into the 2 guys that everyone is pissed off about. Apparently, Michael Hoyt was the first one. Bills sign, kind of that super athletic guy, special teamer, and then can rush off the edge. He was a D tackle at 300 pounds, dropped some weight down to 270, I think is what he plays at now. Real athletic though, and versatile guy, really smart. The guys at Cover One, Eric Turner had him on their show, and he was breaking down film with them. If you haven't seen it, that episode is really good.
It was good.
But
Yeah.
really cerebral guy, and understands how the defense is working, not just his role, but what the defensive scheme is trying to do, what the offense is trying to do, and then his role in that. So I really like the fit. He really reminds me of Zoe.
So,
For sure, with his, how he was a D tackle and then lost some weight and could play special teams. I don't think he's necessarily as good of like a coverage guy. He's done some of the dropping in coverage, but really it's just more of like his pass rush ability, the smarts, and then the special teams. He blocked 3 kicks last year. I really liked the move and adding him. I didn't love the fact that we found out that he will be suspended for 6 games, but apparently they knew before that. His deal was kind of structured around knowing that.
yeah, I think that it helped. The Bills knew the suspension was coming, and I think the deal reflected that. Love the versatility, like the signing. Again, like you said, if you guys haven't seen that Cover One episode with him, go check it out. Really smart guy, kind of like what he's going to bring, and seems extremely happy to be in Buffalo. I think he's from Canada, like Josh Palmer. So I like that. The 6-game suspension sucks, but at least the Bills knew this was happening, unlike the guy that we're going to touch on coming up here in a few seconds, probably.
Yeah, so I mean, I understand what you're saying, Whittle, but I think that's over the course of the year. So Whittle's saying, can we stop begging for DNs? The Bills were top 10 in pass rush win rate, and Rousseau is one of the top 20 DNs in the NFL. But that's like throughout the year. The issue is at the end of the year playoffs, when they play the better teams, they do not get home. They do not create that same pressure, and it doesn't have to necessarily be just a D end. I'm totally happy with interior pressure and them going after a 1 tech or a 3 tech that can create pressure. Interior, the issue with that is those are few and far between and very expensive. This was a year where there was a plethora of DNs available, it seemed like, and then also there's a lot of them in the draft, it appears, as well. So I think that's why they were such a hot topic. But you got to upgrade at DN. You can't go into the season with AJ being your 1 and Group being your 2, and so now you at least you have Bosa as your 1, and then Group being on the outside. And I do think they still need to add a quality another defensive end, because for me, I think where the Bills' defensive line is the best is where Greg Rousseau is moved around and he gets to play inside and he gets to play on the left side and not just on the right. And so I think they need some more versatility there, and that's where like Hoyt comes in and can do that. And I like the way the room was rounding out. It just sucks they're not going to have him for 6 years. But yeah, if you want to, we can dive into the interior, because the Bills signed Larry Ogunjobi, and like you said, he's not a 1 tech, and that's really what they need. He's a 3 tech, And so I was curious with the signing to begin with. I think he was miscast a little bit, having to play a 3-4 in Pittsburgh the last 3 years. He was better before that, but again, like the Bills just haven't shown a consistent willingness to have a big run stuffer in the middle. They haven't wanted to invest in it. They'll put one on the roster at most. So with Daquan Jones being there, I'm not sure if they want to invest in another one. I would love for them to invest in a one tech that can stop the run and then let Daquan kind of rotate more in and on second and third downs. Hopefully they get one in the draft. But that's not Larry Ogunjobi, right? He's much better as a pass rusher than a run defender, and he's more of a 3 tech. So I don't know if that means more of Ed Oliver moving around and him being able to rush more, and there's some more versatility there. I do think there's something to be said about Carter, like you said. Like, it's hard to grade him on last year because of the wrist injury, and that is a death blow for a defensive lineman or any lineman, even offensive lineman too. I mean, your wrist, that is everything, is your hands, and not to be able to create leverage and things like that. And so it's and to be combative with your hands as well. So it's really hard for me to grade Dwayne Carter on his pass rush and his play last year, but boy, do they need a lot more. And so I'm hoping that's their 5th defensive tackle on the roster and not their 3rd or 4th. So I'm worried now with Ogunjobi missing the first 6 games. What is that rotation going to look like? Because it's Daquan Jones and Ed Oliver, and then it's Dwayne Carter to start the year.
Dwayne Carter, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely disappointing, a 6-game suspension. He's a 3 tech. It's not your specific, 1 tech run stopper. I don't know if the Bills haven't really, like you said, gone really after that spot consistently. And it sucks for Ed Oliver too, because like when he's played well, he's had some better play next to him. Some of his better games was when Vaughn was healthy, and then he did have a great year too, not this past year, but the year before that for Ed. But at the end of the day, like they're not rolling into the season with 3-4 guys on the roster, so hopefully they double dip in the draft. There's not really much more they're going to do in free agency unless there's like some guys that get cut. I just don't foresee them bringing in much more outside of that. And we'll see. It's been a problem consistently for them. Like they've signed these guys in the past, and what they thought was a whiff ended up being like Poona Ford just got paid a ton of money this offseason, and like he was a Bill at 2 years ago. So it's kind of like, what are they asking these defensive tackles to do? And we'll find out. I mean, you can say what you want about stopping the run, but we did end up winning, this was 17 games, including the playoffs. Made the AFC Championship game, and I don't want to say we necessarily lost the AFC Championship game because we couldn't stop the run.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, like a lot of it is like the scheme, right, and what they're trying to do. And
right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a marriage of coverage and pass rush. It's not one or the other. Like one doesn't need to be great and the other one average. I think it's a marriage of the two and them working together. And the Bills have lacked the ability to marry those two together for quite some time now. A lot, some of that is injury related and not having key guys on the field, but some of that is scheme as well. And so, like Whittle's pointing out, like some of it is scheme. Like, the Chiefs went quick game and attacked the Bills quick game because of their weakness in the secondary, and the Bills weren't able to line up and tackle and line up man to man against the Chiefs and cover them. They were getting roasted on the rub routes and crossing routes and stuff like that. And so it's a little bit of both, because I think the Bills want to play the Chiefs with rush 3 and spy 1. I think ideally that's what they want to do on pass plays, and then have your coverage on the back end. The issue is we haven't had the guys to do the coverage because of injuries or just a lack
Right.
of traits, speed and things like that. So I mean, it's not like we're saying they just need to focus on the D line. I know Whittle wasn't here for the beginning when we were talking about corners, but that's where they have to get more athletic in the secondary, and that's why I don't want to see Dane Jackson on the field. I don't want to see Hamlin on the field. Like, I don't want to see not athletic guys on the field anymore. That's why I don't want them to bring back Rasul Douglas because of the same thing. Like, I want to get younger. I want to get more athletic, and I want to let guys flourish in that ability, or give them the ability to work in space. And I think that's what we've lacked is we haven't been able to match up against teams because we don't have the athletes. And part of that is McDermott. They would rather have guys that are whatever, play smarter or do the right thing every time. But you also got to let athletes be athletes and let guys play. And sometimes they're going to play out of scheme and, let their athleticism take over. And I think too much the Bills coaching staff just wants guys to do the right thing every single play. And sometimes that's not the best play, is to just do your job. Like, some of it is to go above the scheme or outside the scheme and make a play. And we need guys who are athletic enough to go do that. And we just haven't had that.
Yeah. It's kind of like the opposite of the Josh Allen, early in his career. Like, Josh would just go off script, do what he wants, and
right, too much.
They kind of had to reel him back in, and now we finally saw kind of the last 2 years, like, this is the best version of Josh, where you can have him play within the scheme, and then let him also be Josh when he needs to be Josh. And like, they don't have a guy like that on defense right now. That's kind of an athletic freak and can go make a play off script on defense. Bernard's probably the one guy you could say can do that, but he's not necessarily physically bigger or anything like that. Like, he's a little bit of an undersized linebacker. So like, maybe they can find somebody at safety, and I think Bishop has the potential athletic ability to do that. Like, we've seen he flashed, and they drafted him early, and I think they're hoping he can become that guy. But
I want to get to this comment real quick from Poppy, though. He said, Chiefs had the home field advantage. Look what happened week 11. Our D-line pressured Mahomes better. I don't think it had anything to do with home field advantage. I don't think it had anything to do with the D-line. It was the secondary. For me, it was Benford going out with the concussion early, and then it was Hamlin and safety. And so Elam came in, and they went after him, and then they went after Hamlin. So anytime they could get them one-on-one in coverage, they went after both those guys. And so you could sometimes cover up for one guy, but it's really hard to cover up for two. And that's the big thing, like we were talking about, is it's not just the D-line, it's not just the secondary, it's both, and they got to work together. And the Bills just got to get better. They got to get more athletes. They got to get younger, and hopefully they can make some plays, because I think down in, down out, they're not necessarily gonna win, beat the Chiefs. I think you got to make the big plays to beat them, and the Bills haven't been able to do that. The timely sack, the forced fumble, the interception, things like that, and you're just not gonna beat them lining up straight across from them.
Yep, I agree with you on that one.
All right, next up, we talked about the 6-game suspension for both guys. I'm interested to see what that does for the moves, right? Because they got to do something. You're short 2 guys to start the year, so who are they going to bring in? And then what is that going to do once these guys come back? Now, obviously, you're going to have injuries, attrition, things like that. So some of that kind of works itself out. But that's definitely a problem they got to figure out, and it might be a good problem in my eyes, because I really hope that means they're going to draft more D linemen this year, just to cover this up and take an extra swing, maybe late or something like that. But they got to do something, man, because you got to get some bodies in there that can play to start the year. I mean, I don't think either of these guys are the difference necessarily between wins and losses, over the course of 6 games. But it's still, quality snaps that you gotta have on the field.
Yeah, I agree. The thing that, kind of sucks the most is, you got to fill those holes on defense for the first 6 games of the year. And you don't necessarily want to do that with, just guys. We knew about their Brandon Beans, said he knew about the Hoyt situation, and they obviously, dealt with that, and they were expecting that to come. The Ogunjobi situation, I think a lot of Bills fans are salty about that. It's so hard to know, like, why the
There's
guys
so many layers to the Ogunjobi
Right,
thing,
like,
though, right? Like it's like an onion, dude. Because it's like people are like, why the hell did you pay him that, right? Why are you signing another 3-tech instead of a 1-tech? Because that's what
Right.
people wanted, right? And then if you are signing a 3-tech, why are you signing him to that much money, right? So there are those two problems, and then it's like then he gets suspended for 6 games. So it's like multiple things that I think just all boiled together that pissed everyone off.
Yeah, and I want to say on the suspension situation, it's so like the PED situation. The NFL is wild, right? Like guys are getting suspended 6 games for PEDs, but like I'm not going to name names, but certain guys in the off season will do certain things behind the wheels of a car and then not get suspended at all. So it's kind of like who knows what's going on. Also, like these guys are putting stuff into their bodies that the trainers, they're more than likely entrusting their trainers to tell them to take, and then that whatever they, when they do their tox screening, whatever, it comes back and, they get flagged for it. It's like, were they necessarily trying to cheat the system? Probably not. I mean, I'd be surprised, at least in today's day and age, if they were. They're probably trying to get an edge, but like, it's not like the, steroid era in baseball or anything like that. And we don't necessarily know what layers went into why they were suspended. So we'll find out eventually. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But
I would bet a lot of money they aren't trading up for a safety. And I definitely don't think it's for Nick. And that's not because I don't like Nick. I just don't think he's a skill set that's more redundant. And I don't think he's what they would look for. But yeah, I could be wrong. But I don't think they're trading up for a safety if they're trading up. I think if they're trading up for a guy, it's probably a corner or a D lineman.
defensive line or corner,
Yeah, I mean, part of it though, Sarah, is you can't. It's not like playing video games where you can just go sign these guys. Like they have to want to come to you. They have to want to play for your team and for the price that you want to pay. That could have been part of the reason why they wanted to get rid of Elam and trade him away. We can go right into that one, but that could have been part of the reason that fed into it was we got to get him off our roster because we're hearing feedback that veterans don't want to come to the team with him with a first round rookie or first round corner sitting there. We don't want to have to deal with that, and so that could have been part of the problem and why the Bills had trouble signing guys. But we know they were in on some guys, at least reportedly. But it comes down to money and fit and trust too. Like these veterans got to trust that they're going to get playing time and that they're going to play, and the Bills don't normally guarantee that, and then you had a rookie like Elam sitting there. So and I think that's the other one too, right? Whittle is I never thought they were going to be on any of these top tier guys for this rotation. I thought if they're signing a guy, it's going to be a guy that is on his last legs, and it's to bring up the floor of CB2. Right.
Gilmore or
but then that's a guy that probably wants to start. So I think that's part of the problem. But yeah, it's Akilo Weatherspoon who's still out there. It's Dane Jackson. I know Whittle, that's the name you don't like to say, but it's a guy like that just is your floor, at least for corner. He better not be starting is the problem. So, and I agree with you here. Yeah, the Bills better not draft a safety before a D tackle or a corner. I would argue that they better not draft a safety before a D tackle, a corner, a D end, or a wide receiver. I think safety moves pretty far down the list now with bringing in Derek Forrest and re-signing Hamlin. I think that room, that 4 is pretty good. Could it get better? Sure. But you're hoping Bishop develops over, the off season, and then you bring in a really interesting guy like Forrest, and then Rapp. I don't know. I think fans are still used to him from like 2-3 years ago, whatever.
Rapp played so well last year.
He played really good last year, and you saw the difference when he didn't play in that defense. So I like at least him on one side. So it's just about getting the other side. So we'll see. But yeah, so Kyrie Elam was traded to the Cowboys for anyone who didn't see that. All right, let's look at the draft picks now the Bills have. This is updated with the Kyrie Elam trade. This is what they have. They have 10 picks, and they're not going to make all those picks, so you're going to see them move around. They don't have a 3rd round pick, so we could see them move around and try to get back in the 3rd round. We know Bean's not patient. We know he likes to move around. He especially likes to move up when he sees a guy he likes. We could do a lot worse than Jackson. He's not going to create any game-changing plays, but he's also not going to embarrass himself at corner. Yeah, man, I totally agree. Like, if Dane Jackson's your CB3 on on the outside, I think that's fantastic. I think that's great. I think if you're going to the year where he's your starter, I think that's where we're back into the same thing we've been in with the last 6 or 7 years with the Bills, where they just don't have anything on the opposite side of their CB1, and I think that used to work, but you see way too many teams now with two good wide receivers or more that can really challenge you on the outside, and you have to have guys that are capable at least to stand up on their own outside. Otherwise, you become way too predictable with how far you have to play off to protect yourself. And I think that's part of the problem is when the Bills play these teams with multiple good wide receivers, they get exposed a little bit schematically.
Yeah, I think heading back to the draft picks here is like they're not taking all 10 of these picks. Bean's going to move around a ton. We've seen him do that. I expect that to continue. Bills don't have a third-round pick, and like we had talked about it earlier in the show, was this is a draft where there's late day 2 and then day 3 guys.
Right.
So maybe they move around in the first a little bit with like one of the 5th or 6th round picks, but I don't expect too much from the first round. Like I don't think they're going to be jumping up 20 picks. So then it's like maybe you jump up 5 or 6 if they see a guy they really like, but I don't expect much more than that. Round
There's
2,
some interesting spots where you could move up a couple spots. Like
Yeah.
24 with the Vikings is a spot where they only have 4 picks. They might try to recoup some capital, and that's a spot you could definitely move up to get ahead of a couple teams. I'm glad the Chiefs are 1 pick behind the Bills, because then the Bills won't trade with them, hopefully, to come up. But at the same time, I don't want the Bills to sit back and wait if they like a guy. Like, go get him, because I think they've gotten leapfrog a couple times here. So
and then the Bills don't have – they have what? The Houston pick via Minnesota. So it's like or from Houston via Minnesota. So it's Minnesota's pick.
Yeah.
And it's, later, well, it's in the 20s as far as second rounds is concerned. So – Bills don't have an early day 2 pick early day 2 pick outside of 56 and 62. So it's like maybe they move up a little bit there or they move back. I'm curious to see what they start doing around the 3rd round. That's kind of where I'm a little bit more intrigued. That's where a lot of the talent in this class is, as far as like depth guys, quality starters.
I definitely think they're using 6th and 5th to move up.
Yeah,
maybe from the 4th to the 3rd, or that 132nd pick higher up, or stuff like that. So we're gonna actually, I didn't even talk to you about this, but we'll run a mock simulator here at the end to do a quick one, and you guys can chime in if you want with who we should pick. We'll talk through the scenarios. We'll do some more mock drafts probably later live, because I think they're a good exercise just to talk about like possible scenarios. Obviously, they're not predictive, right? I mean, some of these guys are going to be multiple rounds off from where they get drafted, but it's still a fun exercise to go through it. So we'll do one of those probably here in a minute. I wanted to get into updated cap situation. So this is where we stand right now. This is according to Spot Track. Over the cap has the Bills a little less, but again, we still don't know details on quite a few of these contracts. So this number is definitely going to move. My guess is this is on the conservative side based on some of these numbers, but we'll see, when more of the details come out. I'm surprised that the Bills have waited on some of these to release them, but when the details come out, this will get more updated.
Yeah, there's not too much to talk about with that. Like the number has kind of been around where we thought it was going to be when this all when the dust all settled here. And again, Jake, you and I had talked about it multiple times. Like, how do the Saints keep signing guys? There's ways to maneuver the cap. You can kind of go and get whoever you want, and make the cap work. You kick the can down the road a couple of years, and that's really ultimately what the cap is. As far as needs are concerned, we've reposted this graphic, just basically change the cap space. But unfortunately, I don't think outside of safety, like the needs are still those same positions. I don't maybe running backs on there in case something happens with James Cook, but like cornerback, obviously massive hole. Defensive tackles, we've got issues. Defensive end, they got to go get guys. Like they don't have enough on the roster to walk into the season. And then wide receiver, obviously we've talked about. So we'll see where this ends up. The Bills won't have much cap, when the season rolls around. But cap's a myth.
Right, it's not a myth. It's how you move. Kick the can down. Like the Eagles. The reason why they're able to do so much is they have an owner that pays a lot of money up front. So they have $330 million in dead cap that's sitting there that they just keep moving down the line. But they still have to pay that eventually. Right. So they just keep kicking it down the line. So as the cap goes up, it's less of a burden, and they pick their spots where they want to take some of that on a current year. You look at the Saints, and they're proof that the cap does exist. I mean, look at the moves they've had to make and how they structure contracts and the mess they're in right now. So, it's definitely something you got to navigate, but I think Brandon Beane's done a really good job, especially last year with resetting. And there's a couple levers they could pull this year if they want to create more space. They haven't restructured Deion Dawkins' contract. They haven't touched Matt Milano's. They haven't touched Dawson Knox. So those are all ones they can move if they want to. Daquan Jones is one that they could still touch, and they could release him. They could post June 1 him to create space to start the year if they draft some D tackles. Connor McGovern. Right. He would be like if you spent all your money and you liked your draft and you wanted capital during the year, you would post June 1 him for operating costs during the year. There's no reason to cut him now. Connor McGovern's one where you could extend him and save cap space, and I think that would be a smart move. David Edwards is one where you could extend him and save cap space or trade him. You could save about $4 million in cap space. So there's plenty of moves the Bills could do. It's just whether or not they want to do it. I want to get back to Benford, though. It's not something we've really talked about, but I agree with you, Whittle. He's 25. He's a top 5 cornerback, but I don't know why fans are freaking out about why we haven't signed him yet.
There's no incentive to sign him right now.
Right, you and I touched on this, but there's literally no incentive to sign him. You don't save anything on the cap by signing him, and there's just no reason to do it right now. I think you wait, and if you're gonna do it, it's something you do in camp or even early in the season when the season first starts, and you wait it out, make sure there's no injuries, anything like that. There's no advantage for the Bills to sign him now. You might be able to argue they might save a little money, but I don't think so with what you just saw J.C. Horn sign and some of the other guys. He's going to be $20+ million, to sign him. So I don't think there's a rush, and I'm not surprised. We said we didn't think he'd get signed till the preseason or camp at the earliest. So, all right. Well, you wanna run one of these? Feel free to comment who you guys think we should take. We'll go through some of the options. But
I think before we just say,
I didn't start yet. So
no, let's go back to the draft board or what you had there. With all the teams, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was just saying, let's look at the first round. Who are teams you potentially are moving up? How far are you moving up? We can kind of see all the teams here. In my opinion, Bills aren't going anywhere near the top 15. I just don't see why they would do that, but I could be wrong, especially moving up from where they're at. But I think the mid-20s is a realistic area. If they were to move up, that would be where it is.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like I said, I think 24 is definitely a spot you can move up to. I think the Vikings want to get more draft capital. They only have four picks.
Yep.
So that's
Tampa's a little intriguing.
Tampa's a spot. I think the Steelers are a spot that are interesting depending on who's there for them. But yeah, it depends on who you're targeting and going up. So we'll see. I think even Houston's interesting at 25 just because of what they need. If the tackles aren't there, I could see them moving back. Maybe the wide receiver isn't there that they're interested in too. So
yeah,
we'll see.
All right, let's get into this.
All right, so we won't do any trades for this one. We can go through the trade scenarios. At least we won't do any trade ups yet. We can do that in a future one. We'll try to keep this one pretty pretty vanilla. So, all right. So pick 30. Let's see who went before us. How about that? So you talked about possible places where you could trade to. So if we're starting at 15, there's Jalen Walker. Jahdae Barron went 16. Mike Green went 17 to the Bengals. Man, that would be a good pick.
That'd be wild.
Josh Simmons went 18. Kenneth Grant went 19 to Tampa Bay. That's a spot you talked about maybe you could trade up to.
Yep.
Malachi Starks went 20. Kelvin Banks went 21. Matthew Golden went 22 to the Chargers. That would be a home run pick for them. Will Johnson dropping to 23 blows my mind. If Will Johnson is there at 20, I am moving up for sure to get Will
Packing
Johnson.
bags. Yeah.
I would 1,000% be all on board to move up for Will Johnson at 20, 21, 22. Now you got to have a team willing to move out and back to 30, but man, Will Johnson would be a home run to line up opposite Benford. Like, holy crap, would you have a nice pairing there between those two. Emeka Ibuka went 24 to the Vikings. They just want more and more wide receivers. Tyler Booker went to Houston, the guard. Luther Burden went to the Rams, another wide receiver. Amarian Hampton went to the Ravens. That is very interesting pick.
Okay.
I could see them taking James Pierce instead, but all these teams want D-line, though, in front of the Bills, which is another reason why they might want to jump up if they like somebody. But James Pierce went 28 to Detroit. Walter Nolan, love him, went 29 to the Redskins. I'm still going to call them the Redskins. And then the Bills are up at 30. So Derek Harmon is here, the big defensive tackle from Oregon. Darius Alexander, really interesting, high upside defensive tackle, 3-tech. He's played some 1-tech though. He's more versatile than Ed Oliver and a little bigger, but super athletic, man. Him and Ed Oliver next to each other would be super fun. He's flown up draft boards. He had a really, really good Senior Bowl. So that's Darius Alexander. Nick Scorton, an edge out of Texas A&M, big dude. Really nice on the outside. Who Detroit take? Detroit took James Pierce. I'll zoom in so I guess you guys can see. Well, that didn't help. Hold on. There we go. Come on, Jake. There we go. Wow. It does not like me trying to zoom in with tabbed over sharing. They went James Pierce, so for Detroit. All right, so Nick Scorton is another edge. I'm trying to see who else. Tyleek Williams. I know Whittle really likes Tyleek Williams. Jack Besh, Trey Amos, 40. Maxwell Harrison, Siobhan Revel. So a lot of corners that are going to flirt around with the first round are there. Dog wants Grant, but Grant went off the board at 19. So Kenneth Grant went at 19. And I don't think the Bills have any chance of getting Grant unless they move up to like that. I think they got to move up between 15 and 20 to get him. Yeah. I think Kenneth Grant could even go.
I think he could go in the top 15 to top 10.
Top 10 for sure. Yeah, I mean, if Mason Graham goes earlier, the Raiders are a spot. I think the Saints are a spot. Chicago, San Francisco is a spot. Yeah. Dallas is a spot. Miami's a spot. Like, there's no way he's getting past 13. I don't think so. We'll see though. That's why we do this, because guys could fall, man. You never know what comes out. I love Braden Swinson. All right, so first round guys though, we think Harmon, Alexander, Nick Scorton, and then Tyleek Williams. Those are really the first round guys I would think the Bills would be on. And then these corners. So Trey Amos, Maxwell Harrison, Siobhan Revel. Does anyone have any leaning one way or the other? Donnie, do you have an opinion on?
I can promise you that Whittle would like Amos. I'll throw that out there.
Or Tyleek, he said.
Right, yeah.
And they're both sitting there, so.
Yeah.
Amos 100. All right, so we'll go with the crowd. Let's play the scenario, because part of this is D-line, especially interior, is really deep. So I think we'll play corner first, especially with what the Bills have right now. I think corner is their biggest need. So
Yeah.
let's do Amos here. We'll see who's on the board next. All right, at 56, Bills are up. Demetrius Knight Jr., really fun linebackers here. Shamar Turner, Alfred Collins, I really like as a interior defensive lineman prospect. He's kind of a tweener between the body of a one tech, but can play three tech. You can move him around, real athletic. He's kind of like a Jordan Phillips almost, but I think he has more upside with run defense than Jordan Phillips.
Yeah.
But a freak athlete and body. They got JT here, another edge. Jack Sawyer, Darian Porter, I really like. I would have loved to take him here if we didn't take Amos to start.
Yeah.
Whittle's pounding the table for Collins, and I definitely
I was
agree.
going to say I'm running that card in too for Collins.
I really
but
like
that's just
Collins
me.
too. Jared Ivey's another interesting edge, athletic, big guy on the outside, can set the edge. Omar Norman Lott, pass rushing defensive tackle. So I agree, though. Let's run in Alfred Collins. I think the Bills got to get bigger, and they seem to like guys that can do both pass rush and run stop. So let's go Alfred Collins here. All right, let's go Alfred Collins, and we'll see what's next.
Get greedy. Run the card in for Porter. Double dip on corner.
Yeah,
early.
right. Oh, dude. The only reason why you can't, though, is because
I
Benford,
know.
too. But, man, I
Benford's
love that.
there, then you're wasting picks. But
All right, so we can look at this, and maybe we can run through the trade possibilities, too, to trade back here, to go back into the third round, recoup a little, and then you can move up a couple. If you don't like what's right around here, you can. So Omar Norman Lott would be your pass rush specialist. Three tech, I think he'd pair well with Ed, though. They're a little different skill sets, but man, penetrating pass rusher, Omar Norman Lott. Kyle Kennard, another good edge with some versatility. Benjamin Morris would have been a first round corner if he didn't get hurt. I love Josiah Stewart here as the edge, like freak athlete, really tough, sets the edge hard. Whittle with my
Samson
play,
at 62
like
trade
I
Cook,
totally would trade Cook for like a third or fourth and take a running back.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would do Dylan Sampson. I like him, but I like the play overall. I think that would be really interesting. Get a year ahead of it. Trade Cook to the Argonauts.
Jesus Christ. Oh. Did we lose Jake? I think we lost Jake right now. All right, we're back.
Yeah, my bad. I got a little excited and clicked the wrong button. So, my vote here is edge. I want to go a young edge that has a chance. Yeah, that can play. Let me share the screen again. Give me 1 sec. There we go.
Trade Cook to the Argonauts. Can we stack these?
I should have zoomed in.
Set that up, but
Oh yeah, you can.
yeah, I don't know. You do this more than I do.
It was working perfectly before. Hold on,
know.
I'll switch it back. We could just do full layout. There we go.
Just roll with this. They don't need to see us. We're ugly.
All right. Who do we like here? Swinson went earlier, I think. I love Braden Swinson, but he keeps moving farther and farther up. Yeah, he went 55 to the Chargers. If you want to go edge here, it's Jared Ivey, Kyle Kennard, or Josiah Stewart are the top three. Jordan Birch. I like Josiah Stewart a lot, dude. I think he's going to be an animal. His pass rush win rate is like breaks the scale. It's like 22%. He's a monster.
I remember looking at him with you. Yeah.
And then he really plays a lot bigger than he is. His knock is he's just shorter. He's 6'1", a little over 6'1". If he was 6'3", he'd be a first round pick. I really like Josiah Stewart. Whittle's asking about safeties, so let's look at safeties. You don't have anybody till Sebastian Castro, and he's more of a nickel. He's not true safety. Kevin Winston Jr. is super, super skilled, but he's hurt. Stewart and Solomon are not remotely the same people, dude. Go watch Stewart's tape. Not remotely the same people. Way more speed rusher and way better at against the run. Solomon is nowhere near the speed rusher, the bend, the flexibility that Stewart is. Ransom's the other starting caliber safety here. I think Winston and Ransom. Makuba's all right, but I think those two separate themselves. Winston's coming off an injury, otherwise he would be much higher. So I think you could still wait on safety, especially since the room they have. So for me, with what's here, I would probably go Norman Lott to just double down on interior D line. Or
Sarah's asking
Josiah
about the wide
Stewart.
receivers available here.
Sure, I can look at wide
I think
receivers for
I think
sure.
we kind of hit a lull.
I think so too. It's
this
Restrepo, who's good player, but just redundant for the Bills. Jalen Royals, I like his build and speed, but I don't like the way they used him. His route running tree is super limited right now, and that worries me. I don't really think that's what the Bills want. They need, and they used him a lot in the slot. So Trey Harris, dude. What is Trey Harris doing at 98, Whittle?
Yeah, he's gone or taken or
And Bond's fallen. Horton. Yeah, we're
Bond.
definitely taking Trey Harris. Would be my pick here at 62. Yeah,
Yeah,
run the card in, dude. He was a fringe first round pick.
yeah.
I don't know if he's one of those guys that fall a little bit, but dude, he would be an amazing pairing with Keon and Josh Palmer, and just rotate those three on the outside. Like, you got size, you got route running with Harris and Palmer. Like, oh, love that, man. All right, we're gonna run that one in. We'll look at our picks so far. We've gone Trey Amos with our first round pick, Alfred Collins, and then Trey Harris. So 2 Ole Miss guys and a Texas guy. Corner, D tackle, wide receiver. So it's a pretty good run here so far. So we're at 109 now. We got Deion Walker, who's kind of like just a freak body and athlete, but doesn't know how to use it yet.
He's like 6'7" or something.
Yeah, dude, he's freaking huge. Yeah, we are definitely. This is an insane one right now. Whittle's pounding the table for Deion Walker. CJ West is here as well. Ashton Gillette. They're all good players here. I like any of those guys. Kobe Bryant, if you wanted to double dip at corner. David Walker's like a bowling ball at edge. Jamari Caldwell's here is if you wanted to go one tech. But I like Deion. Everyone's pounding the table for Deion. Super versatile project. You would be able to bring him in right away. You wouldn't have to play him right away a ton. You could develop him.
He fits kind of that athletic, size, speed freak that the Bills would just, they would want to mess around with.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm happy with that. You'll never hear me complain about taking offense or defensive line. I don't care how many we have. Take more, man. They're super valuable, and you can always move them if you have to. So, yeah, he's definitely a guy. Like, can you imagine like Deion Walker and Ed Greg Rousseau getting off the bus first? Like those guys you want getting off the bus, and their team seeing those two dudes walk through, and then Alfred Collins too. Like,
should we just go sign Calais Campbell just so we can say we have all those guys there?
Dude, I would love to sign him, man. I wish he comes back and plays for the Bills. I doubt it though. If he does, it's probably Dolphins again. All right, so we got Jaden Blue here, Willie Lampkin, guard. Dylan Gabriel, Jack Kaiser would be an interesting linebacker prospect to stack in the linebacker room. Antoine Powell at edge, Zy Alexander at corner. We got a tackle, another QB, Quinn Ewers. Anyone have any preferences here? We could go running back if people wanted to. Billy Bowman's an interesting one for safety. I really like him as a safety prospect. He'd probably bump Hamlin though off the roster, I'm guessing. I would want Forrest and Bowman to make the roster. We could go running back though. Jaden Blue though is kind of like redundant for what you have with like Ty Johnson. Yeah, run the card and trade Cook. Yes, dude. All right, this is the Whittle draft here, dude. Yeah. I'm fine taking a running back here if you're gonna take one. I don't care about swinging for one.
Man.
I just feel like there's other positions here that I would want to take, unless Cook's traded. If Cook's traded, I'm all on it. I like Jack Kaiser here as a depth guy. Zy
Wouldn't mind that,
Alexander,
man,
you can't have
especially-
enough corners. Or Billy Bowman. So those would be my 3 picks. I don't know if you guys want to vote, but you're saying edge. If you're going edge, it's Antoine Powell. Tyler Beatty's not bad though.
I know. I
for
saw that name
edge.
in there. Yeah.
That would really be it though.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Kyle
love
Williams.
Kyle Williams, dude.
I
I
know.
love Kyle Williams. Let's go. Do you guys want to go Kaiser or Bowman? You guys pick in chat. We'll go one of those two. I like both those guys. I think that would be the play. Yeah,
I think
Barron's here.
this seems like a spot the Bills would go linebacker, in my opinion. Like, we don't know what they're doing with Spectre after this year.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they did something there.
Yeah,
Bills probably
this is a really deep linebacker class, though, and you'll see that later.
Bills
I don't know.
probably.
I'm good with
aren't
going
gonna
Bowman,
win.
dude. I think Bowman's
Sure.
has a chance to be a starting safety caliber guy. And I would love to bring him in, man. Yeah,
Safety
Dolak,
linebacker
dude.
is for
I agree with you,
Dolak.
Whittle.
Yeah.
This linebacker room is really, really deep, and I'd love to bring in an athletic linebacker that you could replace Spectre with, like you said. So,
Yeah.
all right, we'll go Bowman. We still got five picks left, guys. So
There is a 0% chance the Bills will have any-
right, but it's our first time running
I know,
through.
I'm just
We'll
saying.
do one where we do trade ups and stuff. But anyone want to take a swing at a quarterback? We got Kyle McCord here, Kobe King, Kyle Monogany is a good one if you want a running back.
Spectre.
Denzel Burke if you want to take another corner double dip.
I feel like
Danny
Bills
Stutzman's
Mafia's
good.
got PTSD from Spectre, man. Like,
Right. Dude just can't stand the field, man.
yeah.
I'm kind of good going like another corner here.
Yeah.
Whittle,
Who's
you
left?
like Denzel Burke here at corner? I think you could do a lot worse as your CB3. It'd bump Dane Jackson down a spot. Otherwise, I guess you could go linebacker, but you want Dolak, so I don't even know if PFF's got him on here.
I know, right?
Some of them don't even have Dolak on here.
Yeah.
All right, well,
I'm good. I'm good.
Sarah
with that.
likes the double dip. We'll double dip with
Yeah.
Burke here.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna pick right
We
after
pick
this
again
too.
right
so,
now.
yeah,
Let me look
like,
who's
this is
available at
gonna happen.
edge because I think there's some sneaky
Yeah.
edges still around. Let's see. There's Fidel Diggs, Tyrone Ingram, Ethan Downs.
Walker.
That's all they got. It's getting pretty down. Getting pretty down.
What about interior defensive line? Like,
Everyone agreed with the corner. Let's look. Yeah, I didn't think Dolak was on PFF, so
yeah. Interior defensive line. What are we looking
let's
at?
see. There's Tonka, Tim Smith Jr. is another big dude. Zeke Biggers, apparently we went and scouted him. Cam Jackson, Ty Robinson. Ty Robinson would be interesting if we didn't have like so much redundancy in the skill set, which we've already drafted. So to recap, we went Trey Amos first, Alfred Collins second, Trey Harris third, Deion Walker, Billy Bowman,
We somehow walked
and
away
Denzel
with those
Burke.
four. If we walked away with those 4 guys to start the draft, like,
Yeah, that would be a home run for sure if that was
I'd
our
be giddy.
top 4. All right, let's go overall and look at all. I gotta deselect these. I like Kyle Monogany. If you're going to take another running back here, he'd be your 4th running back. A lot of speed, stretch zone, wide zone guy. Would be able to spell Cook if Cook got hurt or something like that, and he brings that speed ability. But yeah, Walker can play everywhere, dude. He's unreal. We could go if we think they'd go like. I mean, since we could go linebacker here, since I don't, there's no Dolak. I think Danny Stutzman's pretty good here. Cody Lindenberg's good here. I'm all for drafting Dolak, though.
Dolak, yeah.
I think that'd be good. Tyler Shout, he's definitely still not going to be here.
No.
What do you think? Go linebacker here or running back?
I don't see a reason to swing at running back unless something happens with Cook. Like they're not rostering 5 guys, and then it's like, okay, why did you?
So we're at pick 170 now. We still have 173, 177.
I kind of agree with Whittle. Like I'm running up Stutzman, and
I like Stutzman a lot.
Yeah,
all right, we'll go Stutzman. All right,
this is a spot the Bills have
and then we're right back on the board.
This is also a spot the Bills have consistently taken linebackers like the middle of the 5th round.
If we wanted to trade, the Chargers want to come up from 181. The Rams want to come up from 190, and the Green Bay wants to come up from 198. Do any of those sound interesting to you? Because I'm tired of picking from this same group of people. And then we pick at 177. Let's go to 198 just to space it out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
We'll add like a something next year.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, they say that's too good. That's not good enough. All right, whatever. We'll force it through.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, we're at 177 on the board, man. Yeah, I like Stutzman, man. Interesting cat. All right, now I think this is Kyle McCord for me. We can look for if Renshaw's available. I think I saw him down here.
There he is.
Yep, there he is. We can take Renshaw. I'm fine with that as well. I just don't know if you're going to draft 2 safeties.
You're not drafting 2. You're not.
That's the only problem.
With 6 safeties. Yeah.
I mean, this would be a spot like you take offensive lineman, probably a developmental, or Kyle McCord or something like that. I mean, if Tyler shows that
Slaw's still there, sure.
Taking him,
yeah.
However you say his name. All right, we'll just take the hometown just for fun. All the QBs left.
God.
All right, so we still got to address running back. So Jordan James is interesting. Taj Brooks is really interesting. A lot of speed.
Ollie
Gordon is still here. LeQuint. All right, let's go running backs here.
Yeah, dog saying look at defensive.
I
we
love
looked at defensive ends.
Latrell
defensive
Johnson.
ends really thin
PFF
out.
does not have a lot of defensive ends, man.
It thins out and gets pretty ugly.
Let me get rid of running backs so you can see. I mean, Fidel Diggs, could go him if you want, but that's it for defensive ends.
Yeah.
So I'm saying
defensive ends you take here, like
I'm saying running back or Fidel Diggs would be my.
I kind of like the running back play.
There's a lot of good ones still. Man, I love Montreal Johnson.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That would be
I don't hate the pick, Whittle. I just don't know how they get him on the roster. Again, like we don't think they're going to draft 10 picks anyway.
They also have a guy who does that in Cam Lewis.
I mean, you're talking, Cam Lewis is going to be gone if you take a guy like that, which is fine. But I like Kymir Dyke is an interesting one here at wide receiver. Caden Prather is interesting if you want to double dip at wide receiver, get some speed. Anyone opposed to that wide receiver? I like either of those guys. Both those guys can fly.
Wide receiver or running back. This is the spot you
both of them are 6 foot. They run 4.4s.
Prather's good. Dyke is fine. Yeah.
We'll go Prather, and then we'll go running back because they're still going to be there.
Yeah, there's a lot of running backs available.
All right, so here's the running backs left. Of course, there was a run on them.
Yep.
Just make them a burner. I'll always take a wide receiver. That's the attitude, Sarah.
Yeah.
That is the attitude. I'll always take a wide receiver. Trade the rest of the picks for next year's draft capital. I love that too, man. I wouldn't mind them doing that at all, depending on how the draft falls. Shoot, if you want, who's the fastest out of this group?
I don't know. I'm gonna look it up.
This is not a speed group.
No, it is not.
Montreal Johnson, I probably ran in the 4.4 range.
I'm gonna look up.
I love him though. I'm a homer though because of the Gators. Ollie Gordon just really fell off the face of the earth. LeQuint Allen's fun, but he's more of like if you wanted a guy who can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Sarah says, "What's up to Bill's Bunker? What's up? Thanks guys so much for being active in the chat tonight. We really appreciate it. Is Thornton available? I can look. Nope. Thornton is not available. Let me know.
What did we have left at running back?
There is Ollie Gordon, Jaquindon Jackson, Jatavius Marks,
Yeah.
Jaquavius, Montreal Johnson, a guy named Rocket Sanders, but the injury really robbed him of his speed. And then Donovan Edwards.
Yeah. Donovan Edwards. Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of these guys kind of fit.
None of them are speed guys. They'd be your power guy.
Yeah.
But you kind of already have that. So, I mean, we don't have to take a running back.
No.
There's Jake
Honestly,
Majors
like,
would be a
just
good interior.
Take a swing at like O-line.
Yeah. A Ricky White, if you want a triple dip at wide receiver. Tay Fountain.
Yeah, right.
Jeez. Tight end, maybe? Luke Lashley? That's probably what they would do. Right? Take your tight end. We still don't have who's going to be tight end. They haven't re-signed Morris.
No, they did. They re-signed Morris.
Oh, did they bring him back? Did we miss
Yeah, we
that?
went over that, buddy. Where were you during that segment?
Dude, we're so far in that I forgot.
I mean, maybe for tight end 4, but like I don't think so.
I didn't think they re-signed Quentin Morris. Are you sure?
Oh no! They signed Gilliam. That's right.
Yeah, they didn't re-sign Quentin
Yeah,
Morris, so they still need a tight end 3.
Yeah, they don't have it.
So it's either wide receiver or tight end 3. If anyone has a preference, I like Luke Lashley. That would be an interesting one. Yeah, we didn't know either. Kitten Crawford is interesting safety, but we already got that covered. Yeah, they didn't re-sign him yet.
No.
Aronde Gadsden, I know a lot of people liked him. Malachi Moore, like how the hell is he still there?
Yeah. Fadali Diggs still there. We should go with Diggs.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Zach Davison right now is your tight end 3 as it sits. The Bills usually like to carry 3, but the 3's got to play. The third one's got to play special teams, so that doesn't mean they can't change. But with how much they like to run 2 personnel, you kind of want a third one available. So, yeah, Zach Davison's the other one. Their other tight end, Amari Rogers, tore his Achilles. I don't think they still have McKitty on the roster. I thought McKitty got picked up by somebody, or they cut him. Trey McKitty, though. But Zach Davidson's not who you're bringing in to like block and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I'm fine with Jake Majors here or Luke Lashley. Doesn't really matter. We're talking pick 2, the last pick in the 6th round, or second to last pick of the 6th round. So,
McKitty's with the Browns, sign a future reserve contract with them in January.
All right, that's what I thought. I think tight ends are bigger need. So, all right, well, that was fun. We ran through our first mock simulator of the off season. They're grading us now. Apparently, we stink.
Trey Harris D-.
Bottom 25% of drafts. Yeah, they hated the Trey Harris pick, a D-.
Yeah. They didn't like Trey Amos.
Trey Amos was a C+. Alfred
But
Collins,
they loved us taking Kyle McCord, a guy that's never going to
A-. Our best pick was Kyle McCord, guys.
Yeah, come on.
So I think that's a really good draft, though. If the Bills came away anywhere close to those top 4, I think we would all be jumping with joy. I think that hammers a lot of the needs. Never bad to double dip corner and wide receiver.
Feels like I just got evaluated for my, ESPN fantasy draft, and I'm predicted to get 12th for the season.
Oh, dude, isn't that the best? Like
and then
when
you
they're like
second or first, yeah.
The worse they rate you in your fantasy draft, the better
you're gonna do.
You're gonna do always, man. All right, well, that was a ton of fun. Yeah, I think we're going to do a lot more draft stuff next week. We haven't really thrown down for sure what we're going to do next week. I'll probably focus on a couple positions. Maybe we'll do like corner and wide receiver or something, and we'll do draft prospects. And then we'll do D-line, DN, and do draft prospects and kind of do a deep dive like we did a couple weeks ago. Now that we have the combine, now that we have some pro days, and we'll watch some tape and we'll give some thoughts on guys that we think the Bills could be good fits for. And then probably every week until the draft, I'll probably do a mock draft or two as well. They're pretty fun. It's more so just to see like the possibilities, and if you go cornerback first, what does that mean for your second round picks or things like that? Or if you go D line, what does that mean? So yeah, Thanks guys, everybody in the chat for being so active tonight. We really appreciate it. It makes the show a lot more fun. So
a lot of the off-season stuff, we would love some more, keep it going with the interaction in the chat. Like, we're going to keep interacting with you guys. And
sure, make sure you like and subscribe too.
Like, subscribe, follow. I don't know what else is out there.
Here's so as far as for the network, here's the schedule. Next up is No One to Blame on Monday. Check them out. They're going to be going over March Madness and giving you all their picks for March Madness now that the bracket came out tonight. So they'll be doing that. So that'll be a fun show. Definitely check them out. And then Whittle, who was here chatting with us, him and Brian Beyond 716 are on Coast to Coast on Wednesday nights. Check them out. I'm sure they'll be doing tons of draft stuff. Whittle loves the draft, as you saw. He's breaking down a lot of film on these guys and giving you his thoughts. He's kind of been doing school by school so far and breaking down all the prospects from some of the schools. I know he's done Ole Miss, Oregon, stuff like that. So check out their show Wednesday night. Thursdays is Chase and Data with our data analyst, Chase King. He's awesome. He's been doing a series all off season so far. He kind of looks at the whole NFL. So he's been going down who the number 32 team in the NFL is all the way. He's going to go all the way to through the summer and go to the number 1 team in power rankings. And he's going to break down the full offseason for them. So who they're leaving, who they're getting, who they've signed so far, who they need in the draft, coaching changes. He kind of is doing a deep dive on every team. So if you want to get more familiar with teams around the league and get smarter on it, and you want to get smarter on it, then definitely check out Chase's show Thursday nights. Like I said, he has a different team every week. I think he had the Saints last week. So check him out. And he does sometimes one team, sometimes 2 teams. It's a really good show, though, if you kind of want to get a picture of the whole league and not just the Bills.
He's not even a Bills fan. Like, he's a Ravens fan, so we're constantly bantering each other. But really great coverage as far as the whole NFL. I think he does a phenomenal job, just kind of hitting on every single point.
Yeah,
so
for
he'll
sure.
probably keep going with that.
Yep. And what Saturday night is Hockey Hotline. It's Saturday morning. Sorry, not Saturday night.
Morning.
It's 10 a.m. And those guys, Matt and Beyond 716, they break down Sabre stuff. It's a great chance to vent on your frustrations with the Sabres. There's not really
Sabres are still
celebrating
in the
going
NHL.
on.
I thought they got kicked out.
They haven't been relegated yet, so we'll see. And then Saturday night's Third and Manageable with Matt Diger and Student Body Right, and they always have fun guests on. What they had last night, they had Ryan Talbot of Syracuse Up. And so definitely check them out. They usually do their shows live somewhere, sometimes at Ilya DePaulo's, and they always have some fun guests. So check out Third and Manageable. It's kind of like sitting around with your buddies, talking football with them, with the guests they have. And it's usually a shorter show. They don't usually go as in depth, so it's definitely a fun time with them. And then it's back to us next week. I think we're going to stick to the 8 p.m. time slot, Eastern time. So let me know or let Don know if you like that. But we kind of think that's a good time slot for us. Quick message from our network sponsors, and then we'll close it out.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Ilya DePaulo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
All right. Well, I just want to thank everyone again for tuning in. Thanks, Don, for joining me. Always a good time talking football with you. It's funny, before we started doing this, if everyone doesn't know, we're cousins. And we'd be having these conversations anyway. So we used to just do this on the phone and do phone calls. And then we decided to start doing it and making content. So we appreciate you guys wanting to listen and wanting to join in with us. And it's always a good time hanging out with you, Don.
Yes, sir. Hope you all have a great week, and we'll be back at it next week. I don't expect too much off-season news, anything like that.
It'll be probably visits, maybe. There's going to be more signings, right? They got to get to 90, but yeah, I don't expect too much. The owners' meetings might drum up some content. The Trey Hendrickson's still going on. There's a lot of talk that the Bengals were about to sign Chase and Higgins to big deals, and that hasn't quite happened yet. I imagine when that happens, Hendrickson might be a domino to fall because of just cash and money. So that's something to watch for sure. But we'll see, man. The NFL is always something. Always something.
Yep, and let's enjoy it, because the dog days of the summer are coming faster than we can think of, right? Like, we got the draft, off-season workouts, and then it's like dog days, man. And so we'll enjoy it while we got it.
Well said. All right, well, we'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Come on, man. Only on Do Champion Network.
Everything you need, nothing you don't. Some may like if you just won't. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Some may like if you just won't. Buffalo Blueprint for analytics and new shit. Check that in hand, mic in his hand. Welcome to the Buffalo Blueprint. Everything you need. Everything you need. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Some may like if you just won't. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Some may like if you just won't. Buffalo Blueprint for analytics and new shit. Jake pen in hand, mic in his hand. Welcome to the Buffalo Blueprint. Everything you need.